corner, I'm afraid, because I'm setting off this time from Andy's house. Bit of a mishap. We should have been going away on Friday, but on Thursday night Andy's bike and trailer was stolen, so that kind of put paid to that. And seeing as the weather was going to be rather wet and windy on Monday, we thought we'll leave it till Tuesday. So that's the plan. We're off down to Porlock for a few days. I've got the trailer tent behind the trike, and Andy will be borrowing my trailer to take his MZ along with him. So let's get on with it. All being well, the next stop should be somewhere near Pencraig on the A40 for a quick cuppa and maybe a bite to eat. And here we are, rolling down the M5. Plan being go down as far as the M50 and down there towards Ross-on-Wye, and then from there the A40 towards Monmouth. And here we are on the A40, just the other side of Ross-on-Wye, pulling into what is now called the A40 CAF. Many years ago this used to be called the Pencraig Diner, and how shall we put it, it was a dirty hole, but the food was always good. I'm happy to say the food is still good, and the place is a damn sight cleaner than it used to be. We very often come this way and go into Porlock. It breaks up the monotony of the M5 and the road from Monmouth to Chepstow as it goes past Tinton Abbey. It's always a nice road to ride. So we're on holiday, let's ride it. And it's across the Severn Bridge to pick the M5 back up just this side of Bristol. And if you take a look up on the left, you'll see the new design of electricity pylon they're using in this part of the world. And the rest of the journey went without incident, and before long we roll up at Sparkhaze campsite in the village of Porlock. Quite a few of our club members are already down here, so let's go and find them and start setting the tent up. Now, whilst setting the tent up, I use this little clockwork turntable with a camera mounted on it, and it takes it roughly 1 hour to do 360 degrees. So let's have a little look round while we're setting up. And there's my trailer tent, and Kevin's camper van, Gordon's shed, and a general view of the site. Having got everything set up, it was time to head into Minehead and have fish and chips on the seafront, which is the sort of thing you do when you're at the seaside and you're on holiday. Right, and so ends Tuesday. The pub was a little too far for me to try walking, so sadly it was a case of riding there and not drinking so much. But we'll see how things progress later in the week. Well, it looks like being a decent day weather-wise, so off we go. There's Dave and Viv sitting happily in the sun. Porlock Hill. First time this particular trike has been up here since I've had it. But the hill didn't pose much of a problem. This can be the only tricky bit on some vehicles, but you can cheat and go the other side of the road if there's nothing coming, and then up the steep bit. We pull in by the AA box at the top of Porlock Hill and decide whether to go down through Doon Valley or just stop on the A39, and we decided to do a little bit of both. These lanes are a little bit narrow for something such as the trike, but we met very little traffic considering it's the mainly industrial fortnight. It wasn't as busy as I thought it would be. And it's back on the A39 and down into Lynmouth. And in this neck of the woods, what goes down has to go up. So this is the climb now up towards Linton. But we turn to the left instead and head towards Barbrook. A little bit of roadworks as we go through Barnstaple, but it didn't really amount to much. Just outside Bude on the grandly named Atlantic Highway, and we see a real life policeman. I think that was the only one we saw all holiday. Maybe they don't have so many stabbies round here as they do round by us. Just a thought. And Boscastle. The trike identified as a motorcycle today, so it parked in a motorcycle bay. And then it was over to the Toby Jug Caff for dinner. And a little wander to the Boscastle bakery next door to grab a couple of bacon, cheese and leek pasties to take back with me. So that's tea tonight sorted then. And I've still got an MZ following me, so everything's alright. Now coming back through North Malton, someone mentioned this pub on the right there, the Poltimore Inn, and Andy said, "Did I see a bike parked outside?" I said, "No." So I had a quick look back on Google Images, and it wasn't a bike parked outside the pub, but a sculpture in front of the pub. Thank you, Google Images. There was, however, a bike parked on the right just there before we headed over the little bridge to leave North Malton. Yeah, don't ask me how I did it, but somehow I managed to find a ford to go through. Whoops, it's squeezing time again. No, I can't get much further over than that. But I think we'll miss. by a good 2 or 3 inches. Time for some woolly speed bumps in action. I shall take great pleasure in eating you when you're turned into a kebab. And so ends Wednesday. Quite a nice day out, about 160 odd miles, and I've got a couple of pasties to look forward to. Once again, I didn't feel quite up to walking to the pub, so we rode there again. Morning. Well, the weather forecast today says we might have a bit of drizzle. I can see a few large black clouds, but anyway, we'll stay local. Possibly a cuppa at Stagumba, maybe another cuppa Wimbleball Lake, and then head back towards the seaside for perhaps an ice cream. And back on those glorious roads with grass in the middle that are only about a foot wider than the trike is. But I've got to admit I do like riding on them, so there we go. And a bit of a wiggle, but there is somewhere to park at Stagumba. The surprising thing was, we had a very nice cream tea, and believe it or not, it was £1 cheaper out here than it is back at home. Yeah, surprised me too. Well, there's got to be a steam train sooner or later, isn't there? Now we came out and someone had parked right behind the trike, and this trike is a nightmare to reverse. You've got no visibility behind you whatsoever. So luckily Andy was standing there to make sure I didn't leave a toe ball sized dent in the side of this gentleman's car, and with a little bit of wiggling backwards and forwards and shuffling about, we managed to escape. I think we'll get it this time. Yeah, it looks like we're going to miss everything. Whoops, that's not what we need. There's not quite enough room there. But this kindly driver reversed back a good 150-200 yards until there was somewhere to pass. So thank you very much, driver, it's appreciated. Yes, as I said, they had to reverse back quite a way. But in the end, everybody's happy. And that little bit of drizzle that the weather forecasters promised us has just started. And as we pull up at this junction on our way to Wimbleball, right in front of us, coming the other way, is Dave and Viv there, on their way to Stagumba. Guess I will catch them back at the site later. And as you can see, by the time we get to Wimbleball Lake and the little coffee shop, the drizzle has turned into slightly heavier rain. But never mind, it wasn't cold. Any road, let's get a cuppa. And as we roll up and watch it, there's some black clouds, but the sun's out. And we get there just in time to see the steam train leaving. And so after a little bit of train spotting, it's park up on the seafront and indulge in that other British pastime, eating an ice cream. It's what you do. You're British, the sun's out, you're at the seaside, you eat an ice cream. And just as we got back to the site, a little bit of rain. It only lasted a few minutes. And to be honest, I think that's as much rain as we saw all week. I did try walking to the pub tonight, and I managed to get there, and I managed to get back. But it bloody well hurt. And morning. Right, today we plan to head over to West Bay and then take the scenic coast road out towards Weymouth before turning inland towards Cerne Abbas and the Giant, and then worry about heading back when the time comes. But before we do anything, it's down into Morrison's at Minehead and grab some breakfast. And before anybody moans about me parking in a disabled bay, yes, there's the blue badge. Happy now? Taunton, and the traffic's a nightmare because they've got the road closed. That's the road we need, and I'm in the right hand lane. Ah well, looks like I'm going to have to do a little bit of cutting across here. Sorry folks, but blame the people who put the blooming signs up. Must be the loudest siren I've ever heard on a fire engine coming this way. That was seriously loud. Some rather jolly artwork on the bridge here. But I'll tell you one thing, I don't think we'll be coming back through Taunton. The traffic was horrendous. At least the road's straight enough to get past this camper van. And by the time we reach West Bay, we have blue sky, fluffy clouds, the sun's come out. It's 8 or 9 degrees warmer than it is back in Porlock. So all I have to do now is try and find a gap big enough to shove the trike in. I reckon there's one just round there. That's looking promising. A little bit of wiggling will fit in there. Don't really want to park in front of the place where folks walk in and out. That wouldn't be fair. So we're not going to do that. As I've said, reversing this thing is a bit hit and miss. Hopefully more miss than hit. Right, that's everybody out the way. Let's poke my nose in here. What a palaver, eh? The B3157, which is the road that runs from Bridport along to Weymouth, more or less following Chesil Beach, is one of those roads that is just an absolute joy to ride along. So that's what I did. Right, now the trick here is to try and get across the road without being run over and have a little look at the view along Chesil Beach. So let's see what happens, shall we? So far so good. No sign of any traffic. But I'm not exactly the quickest thing at crossing the road. It's looking promising. Nearly made it. And there we go. Not a bad view at all. And not a bad day to be viewing it either. And it's a grand view of Chesil Beach as you drop down the hill as well. So we'll leave the camera running for a bit. As I said, this is certainly a road worth riding along. So if you ever get the chance, please do it. And in the village of Swire, we turn off and start heading uphill and back inland towards Cerne Abbas. I do love these country lanes in Dorset. They just seem to go uphill forever. Decent scenery and, in our favour, a nice blue sky. I must say, in general, all the roads we rode in Dorset, the quality was excellent. Lovely surface, nice white lines, minimal potholes, more or less the opposite of this neck of the woods. Oh, and for good measure, can you see any fly tipping and litter along here? Because I can't. Don't ask me how I've done it, but there appears to be another Ford again. For some strange reason, I do keep finding them. And we roll up at the Cerne Abbas Giant viewpoint, and there he is on the hill opposite. Can't really make out the giant, they've not cleaned the chalk up for a while, but I dare say I took a couple of photographs which I shall try and dig out for you. And there we are with the giant on the hill just behind the trike and the bike. And there he is, and according to Wikipedia, he has an 11-metre phallus. That's a 36-foot long willy to you and me. Ooh, missus. And just for good measure, here's the Ford coming back the other way. and in that doorway on the left, a bit of Banksy-esque type artwork to discourage folks from urinating in there on the way back from the pub, I would imagine. It's certainly effective. And back in Minehead, where it appears that of a Friday evening most of the local bikers gather on the seafront for fish and chips. So, if it's good enough for the locals, it's certainly good enough for me. That's fish and chips twice in a week. What is the world coming to? Not a bad turnout, really. And I think they were all about our age, so senile delinquents gathering on the seafront. Oh, there's bound to be trouble, don't you just know it? And back to base once more. This evening I again walked to the pub, which according to Google Maps is all of 406 yards, and to be honest it was a mistake. I certainly paid for it later on. Morning. Just as we're leaving, Kevin's returning. He's just been to Minehead. We're just going to Minehead. Small world, eh? There's a Morgan type trike up in front. Get a bit of a wiggle on to catch up with it. Take a closer look. It's got some kind of twin cylinder engine in by the sound of it. Seems to get along alright. And just before Porlock he turns off towards Horner. Shame. I'd like to have heard that going up Porlock Hill. And through Porlock. And there's the Royal Oak on the right. And just coming up on the right there, Sparkhouse Lane, where the campsite is. And just round the corner, past the church, we have the Castle Hotel, which is the pub that we've been drinking in, which is the one that I can just about walk as far as. This time we take the A39 up through Watersmeet, and it's on this steep bit that we're coming up now that my M21 sidecar outfit just had not got the power to get round this steep bend here. I ended up jumping off the bike, running alongside and pushing in first gear, slipping the clutch. There again it did have a sidecar with someone in and a 5B3 trailer with all our camping gear. But eventually we did manage to get up and over the top. But this trike doesn't even think about it. Stop on the throttle and up you go. Technology, eh? Oh, and a damn sight bigger engine. And Woody Bay Station. Time for a cuppa, and no doubt a slice of cake. I'll set the clockwork camera mount up on the back whilst we're having a cuppa, so you can have a little look round. luckily the rotating camera was still running as the train came in, so that was a bonus. And here's the same train coming in, but viewed from the platform. Bit of wind noise, but sorry about that. All full of coffee and cake and thoroughly steam trained, we head off in the direction of Blackmore Gate, where we'll turn back towards Challicum. But I am not liking the look of those big black clouds, but I think we might be lucky. The wind's in our favour at least. And just as we pass the Black Venus to Challicum, we hit a little bit of light rain, but I think we should be able to outrun it. Will this be a case of famous last words? We'll see. And we pull in around about Simon's Bath, make a few adjustments to the sat-nav. Don't know why, because I know where I'm going, but you never know, it might come across a place we've never been before. And as we stop at the top of Dunkery Beacon, it's that peculiar quirk of the English summer, where it's brilliant sunshine, but it's also raining. But on the positive side, it's not cold. So let's grab a couple of photographs. And in a matter of minutes, the rain has gone, the sun's back out. I can see blue sky and fluffy clouds again. Some nice purple heather. What's not to like about this part of the world? Certainly gets very dark and steep on this bit, and there's a pedalophile giving it all his worth to get up the hill. Rather you than me. Perfect timing. There's a passing place just here. And another passing place, just where you need it. And there we are, back onto the A39 at Horner, where we saw that trike turn off earlier. And back to site. I rode the trike down to Porlock Weir to have a pint in the bottom ship later on, and then left it parked outside the castle on the way back. So I just didn't feel up to walking, to be honest. It's certainly looking like being a warm one today. Oh, rather glad to be on the move, really. And there we go, a final look at Sparkay's campsite. A few of the lads are staying down for the rest of next week, but sadly I've got a dentist appointment on Monday, so that kind of put paid to that. The split level bit of M5 just as you approach Bristol. And we stopped for a quick leg stretch at Michaelwood Services. And I was right, it certainly is getting hot out there now. I think we'll fit the trailer in this gap without too much of a problem. Yeah, there we go. We dropped off the M5 and onto the M50, and then a mile later onto the A38. Because we needed petrol, and I happen to know there's a petrol station here, just the other side of Kempsey. So we can drop back on the M5, just this side of Worcester. Apart from, this was the queue to actually get down the slip road onto the M5. So I thought, okay, plan B, round the island, back down towards Worcester, and take the A449. We dropped back on the M5 at junction 3, and as we approached junction 1 it did slow down a bit, but there again, see, that gives you a wonderful excuse to have a closer look at our new incinerator, which is slowly nearing completion. It's getting there, a bit at a time. Time to give Andy a lift with unloading the bike, and then we can get the trailer back down to my place. And as we approach Oshit Corner, what can I say? The first time I've been away since coming out of the hospital. I think the walk to the pub was just a little bit too much, but it means I can use the trailer tent, so that's a bonus. Weather-wise, we had a good time. We only saw rain really one day, so I suppose till the next time, I'll see you later.